It's a development that many saw coming. The removal of Representative Abdul Mumin Jibril as the chairman of the House Committee on Appropriation.
The commitment on the part of the leadership that will look into the appropriation process to see that we'll strengthen it in order to avoid pitfalls of the past. And one of the resolutions that we arrived at was to effect a change of leadership of the Committee of Appropriation. And incidentally, the chairman himself woke up to me this morning after that decision was taken and said that the burden is too much for him. He doesn't think he will be able to continue.
The Speaker also promised that other decisions will be taken to improve the appropriation process in the House, a process that led to the passing of the 2016 budget, which left many members upset with Representative Jibrin over his handling of the budget. He, however, denies that he was forced to resign.
I wasn't forced to resign. I resigned on my own volition. Until date, I have said if anybody has anything that I have done that amounts to an abuse of my office or amounts to an illegality, that it should be brought forward.
For the new chairman, he says he will take steps to correct the mistakes of the past.
In every opportunity somebody has gotten, there must be an improvement. We study what transpired in the past. We look at it critically, and we now see what are the possible solutions that can be applied to correct those mistakes that were made.
In the days ahead, it will be interesting to see how this committee settles down to work and what other changes the House will put in place for a more transparent appropriation process. Lanre Lasese, Channels Television News.
To Sunrise Daily, Joseph Ono joins us now. He is a legal practitioner. He's also a convener of Citizens Debate Nigeria. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you, Chamberlain.
Well, the impression that a lot of people have about this is that something is clearly wrong. Some lawyers think that they see cases of criminal breach of trust, forgery, but the comments that the Speaker gave over the weekend sent alarming bells to some lawyers as well. What do you think of this?
Well, for me, I do not see any crime in all of what is going on. I see it differently. I see more of politics and lack of understanding of parliamentary procedure. Budget, being an act of the National Assembly, is an appropriation bill. It begins as a bill and then becomes a law when it is passed and assented to by the President. So in the process of making it, there are a lot of negotiations and lobbying. Government agencies, even private businessmen, lobby legislatures to get certain items in the budget financed with maybe large sums or some given zero allocations. Where you have interest, you try to manage and make sure that your interest is protected. Now, the legislatures represent constituencies. And over the years, people have been talking about constituency project, the legality or otherwise of it. It has become a convention, then starting with Obasanjo's government, that legislatures are given certain amounts of projects in their constituency, but they don't execute it. The executive execute. So among themselves,
but that's not how it had always been.
No, it's a convention. I think it started.
They were executing it initially.
Yeah. During Obasanjo's time, they didn't execute. I think they executed during Yaradua and Goodluck's time. Those period had some issues with governance. I remember Obasanjo's tenure, there was an issue of even the constituency project, who will execute, and the executive executed it for them. You just said, just point what you want and we will do it if it's approved. But now, what you see is that some legislators have outsmarted the others in getting projects allocated to their places, and then those who were sleeping are now complaining.
Okay, so let me understand what you're saying. when the House of Representatives sits, look at the budget proposal, agree on the budget proposal, and then at the point where they're supposed to send it to the president for presidential assent, things are inserted. That is being smart, do you think?
No, I do not think that was what happened. I think they all sat down, considered it, because the stories are two. Now, the transparency group will want you to believe that it was after they had agreed and agreed on the estimates and projects, while the leadership were conveying it to the president, they changed figures. And it was after the return that they discovered that figures were changed. I think that would be wrong. And then that will also be...
Why do you think that?
Because the other side will tell you their own story. You have to balance it. The budget is discussed within the parliament. Every member has the opportunity to look at it and make contributions.
So why do you choose to believe the other group, now, and not the group that says something was wrong?
Now, if your story is tainted with some untruth or maybe delay, I'm minded not to believe you. The chairman of the appropriation committee is charged with the nitty-gritty of the appropriation, bringing everything together, looking at them. Now, if at the time they were putting in this budget, padding it according to him, because initially we started seeing some papers that say signed by the speaker, add this project, add that project. It means they were telling him to add this project in the budget. And he, as the chairman of this committee, was the one adding them. Now, the speaker is not the chairman of the... I don't want to make this about the speaker as an institution. The speaker is not the chairman of the appropriation committee. Abdul Mumuni is. He should be responsible for whatever happens to the budget.
But can that document go forward without the speaker's approval?
It's not the speaker who approves, it's the parliament.
Okay.
The entire committee of the whole.
Because Mr. Obali just left here. He said
Yes.
they debated the budget.
Yes.
And the gavel went down on that budget that it's okay, let it go.
Yes.
And you say what he said, that it is from from the point of the gavel dropping to the point where it got to the president's office, that's where things were filtered with. You say he is wrong in saying that.
We've not seen any documents that shows what they approved in the House, right?
But you saw the document of Mr. Jibrin adding projects, and you think
the
that's
documents
okay
that were coming out on Twitter and Facebook were pieces of paper where you purportedly see the speaker wrote something on paper and say add this, add that. That was how this whole thing started. Now, I would expect that if anybody was asking a committee chairman to insert illegal projects in the budget, he will blow the whistle at that time and even offer to resign his appointment as a committee chairman. Not after everything had gone down and then you now come and say the speaker has allocated budgets of 3 billion in his farm, in his constituency.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand the second part. I mean, you said there are two stories, and that if you listen to the transparency group's story, you might be inclined to believe that, you know, something else happened. But what exactly is the story that what's the side of the story that you believe happened?
Well, I'm not saying that I believed any side, but I'm saying I'm more inclined not to believe the transparency group. Because if you're shouting after you lost your job...
What's the side that you believe?
I will believe that the institution of the House of Representatives will do their job as a parliament. They will consider a budget and they will send their consideration and approval to the executive for executive assent, which was what Abdul Mumuni came to this television and defended some time ago and said there was no pardon. He spoke vehemently and said no pardon, people do not understand, because if there is pardon, as he claims, or as they claim, it should be the executive complaining,
now,
not even him.
You do know the circumstances under which he came, to explain whether or not there was pardon. I recall that the presidency had sent back or had refused to sign the budget, under some... under the fact that it was not what they sent, or that it was, was going to be difficult to implement, whatever the reason was, it was sent back. And eventually the National Assembly agreed to work on it again. Now, even the National Assembly leadership, especially in the House of Representatives, they claimed to have been surprised with some of the documents or with some of the